Fun fact: Tom Corley studied 233 millionaires for 5 years. One pattern showed up so consistently, it was impossible to dismiss. 88% of them were awake and moving by 6 a.m. Not because they are morning people, not because they enjoy it, because they discovered something about their own brain that most people never find out. There is a biological window that opens every morning at 6 a.m., a 2-hour period where your brain is producing peak levels of cortisol, the alertness hormone, the hormone responsible for focus, decision-making, and the kind of thinking that actually builds something. That window closes at 8 a.m. every single day, whether you used it or not. Wealthy people found that window and built their entire morning around it. Most people find out it existed somewhere around 6 p.m., tired, reactive, running on whatever the day left them with. Meet Chris. Chris has been meaning to change his mornings for 3 years. He just doesn't know what he's been sleeping through. Chris wakes up at 7:45 a.m., hits snooze once or twice, gets up at 8:10, scrolls his phone for 15 minutes while his brain slowly comes online, makes coffee, checks messages, reacts to whatever landed in his inbox overnight. By the time he sits down to do anything that actually matters, it is 9:30 a.m. and the first meeting is already in 20 minutes. Chris is not lazy. He works hard. He puts in long hours. He is at his desk until 7 or 8 p.m. most nights, trying to finish what the day interrupted. He tells himself he is a night person, that he does his best thinking late, that mornings just are not for him. But here is what Chris does not know. The thinking he does at 9 p.m. is not the same thinking he could be doing at 6 a.m., not because of discipline, because of chemistry. At 6 a.m., his cortisol is at its natural peak. His prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for strategy, creativity, and complex problem-solving, is running at full capacity. That is the version of Chris that could write the plan, make the call, build the thing. The version that sees clearly and moves deliberately. By 9 p.m., cortisol is depleted. Decision fatigue has set in. The brain is running on fumes. The thinking that happens at 9 p.m. is survival thinking, reactive thinking, the kind that gets through the day but never gets ahead of it. Chris has been doing his worst thinking at night and calling it productivity, and his best thinking has been happening every morning at 6 a.m. inside a window he sleeps straight through. This is what 88% of the millionaires in Corley's study understood that Chris doesn't. The morning is not about discipline. It is not about suffering through an alarm. It is about deliberately using a biological advantage that resets every single day and belongs equally to everyone. The wealthy do not have more hours than Chris. They just stopped wasting the best 2 of them. So what do they actually do inside that window? Not scrolling, not reacting, not clearing an inbox or sitting in a meeting. They protect those 2 hours for the work that requires the best version of their brain, the strategic work, the creative work, the work that moves the needle rather than manages the noise. They read, they plan, they exercise, not because they love it, but because physical movement at 6 a.m. extends the cortisol window and sharpens the focus that follows. They sit with one important problem before the world starts adding more problems to the pile. The shift for Chris is not complicated. It is not a complete life overhaul. It is one decision made the night before. What is the one thing that actually matters tomorrow? The one task that would move something forward if it got done with full focus and full energy. Write it down tonight. Set the alarm 45 minutes earlier than usual. Do that one thing first, before the phone, before the inbox, before the day gets to decide what you do with your best hours. Not because successful people wake up early, because your brain opens a window every morning at 6 a.m., and the only question is whether you are awake to walk through it. Chris is still hitting snooze, but tomorrow morning that window opens again, same as it always has, same as it always will. It should be illegal to ignore. Subscribe, because the next video exposes another quiet biological advantage that wealthy people use and most people never know exists, and you will not want to miss it.